Welcome to Ignite Visibility University. I am so excited because today we have Ron Weber with us. If you're not familiar with Ron, he's an accomplished digital marketing executive with over 20 years of experience in the field. He's also an instructor at UCSD Extension, where he teaches the essentials of SEO and content marketing. He's had a lot of different roles over the years throughout his career in different areas inside of SEO and digital marketing, where he currently leads the charge at Actian as the Senior Director of Web Communications and SEO. So today, in this interview, we're going to be covering a couple things that I'm passionate about. So also, Ron is very passionate about, such as AI, predictive analytics, content marketing, search engine optimization, a little bit of enterprise SEO, and hopefully at the end, we'll get a couple action items going into 2024. So to get started, Ron, how are you doing today? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, doing great. Thank you.
AI is coming onto the scene really quickly. What are some of the ethical risks that you see with AI tools?
Yeah, sure. I think the first one would be that users may inadvertently prompt the wrong information. And so I may be going to one of these tools and very easy for me to do, but I could maybe inadvertently put it in some of our information from my company that should not be known to the outside world. So folks could then it could then be public and could be a negative for our company. So that's one ethical concern that I have with so many people using these tools. There's a lot of information that is going to get out that probably shouldn't. The second, as a buyer of services, buying from Ignite Visibility, I, as a buyer, may or may not be comfortable with AI, but companies like yours that have an AI policy are ahead of the game. And so if I know that, hey, part of the content that I buy from you is going to be part AI and then part human, I may be okay with it. You may tell me, hey, your content's going to get there faster. It may be less expensive. We're going to give you more content. All of those concerns should be brought up. And I, as a buyer of services from an agency like yours, should be aware of those, what your AI policies are. And I can tell you now, like with some agencies that I've worked with, I have no idea what I'm buying. And so I think ethically, there's really a gray line today as to what am I actually buying from people.
It's really interesting. And from our perspective, we get 3 to 5 prospects a day. And so we see a lot of people kind of coming in who are interested. And I will say you, there's a group that demand AI only types of content. And then there's a group that demand only human types of content. And us as an agency, currently, we do the human content. And we do use AI for some research in other areas of digital marketing, such as ad creation, but not necessarily in the content creation process at this time, other than things like Grammarly and copy editing and stuff like that. But it's really interesting to see how the field's evolving. Awesome. What have you been up to lately? What are you currently working on? What's keeping you busy in your current job?
Yeah, I'm in the process of a major redesign. And so I'm spending my days and nights just working on this redesign.
Okay. Redesign's really big thing when it comes to search engine optimization. What are some of the things that you generally focus on? Maybe not necessarily in this one, but just in general when you're looking at a website redesign and technical SEO migration.
Yeah, there's usually, you need a reason for it. You'll hear, probably throughout our discussion, it is always site visitors first, which typically always leads to better SEO.
In general, we try to redesign sites and launch new versions every 2 to 3 years. I think it's awesome you're doing that. I know a lot of bigger companies, sometimes they have them a lot longer. Shifting gears a little bit, I wanted to talk to you about a recent award that you won, the Edgy Award. In 2022, you were the winner for the impactful international SEO work that you did with a previous company. And tell me a little bit about that award, what went into it, and why it was successful.
So that award is a Bright Edge Award, so a SEO specific award. Really one of the most challenging and rewarding projects I've ever been a part of. And so my previous gig, we had a site that had 8 different languages. The problem with that site was only 5 to 15% of those pages were localized. And so you can imagine, the experience that site visitors would have. So it was coordination, orchestration, and ultimately it was translation of the entire website. What happened on the SEO front, obviously Google ate all of this up, loved all of these, just keywords or words on a page that were in local language. And, within weeks, we were 1,000% better just in traffic and overall visibility.
That's an amazing story. And I have a follow up question. I mean, I see so many people who don't actually take the time, or maybe think that they need to take the time to create unique content for a specific country or a specific language. Sometimes they might auto translate it, or I've even seen some people lately thinking they could use AI to translate their content. Did you see a benefit from writing unique localized content? Was that a key to the success?
It was, and well, let's start from the basis that the content in English was already unique.
Mhm.
So for us to do that translation, although we might have used some tools to help us translate, it was always a localized individual that took their unique perspective on those pages. I literally did a test of 20 glossary pages. I put it into these various chatbots. I put it with our own company point of view. I put it with a bunch of prompts that would make this content unique. It spit out what it did. These pages have been live now for about 2 months. Not a single one has been ranked, and I like that. Right? To your point, it's without unique content, SEO is really not going to happen.
I find that really interesting, Ron. And one of the things that I've seen certain people championing in SEO lately is something which they're referring to as programmatic SEO. And
Mm-hmm.
the essential strategy is using AI to just create a whole bunch of content and a whole bunch of programmatically generated pages, which back in the day, which we've both been doing this for a very long time, a lot of people used to call that a content matrix. So it's not really new, and I do think this is a newer version. I personally feel some of the latest Google updates actually did target people who were using AI for this type of stuff. And it sounds like, based off of your individual testing, which I think is so cool that you took the time to do that, you're seeing that the AI content isn't ranking as well. And any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm getting hit up almost every day from individuals out, trying to sell programmatic. And to your point, I feel the same way that this used to work back in the day, but it's just a glorified version of really AI content. But I think in any case where you're trying to spit out too much content that's not unique, you're right. The helpful content update of last year really, I mean, Google said it in really the name of the algorithm that if your content's not helpful, we're not going to rank it. And so when we think about AI and programmatic, it really is just that. Like, how is this content really going to be helpful?
And so, obviously, there's some benefits to AI, though. I found a couple ways that it's useful, but also, I always feel just a little bit conflicted using it because a lot of it's regurgitated. But, in what ways have you found AI to be useful in your practices in digital marketing?
Yeah, so I've come full circle on this. I was completely anti forever. I now allow my students to use AI. I think from an ideation standpoint, it's wonderful. So if you're stuck, if you're looking for topics or maybe a different approach or a different angle, the prompts that you can deliver with these AI tools and the answers you get back are wonderful for ideation. But for the actual writing of the content, from what I've seen, it really is. If it's not going to rank, why even bother? Better to just use the ideation piece and then go off and go right.
I've found it personally to be helpful for research on some level, but I always get a little bit
Mm-hmm.
nervous about the fact checking. And then it seems to be quite good for title creation as well.
Mm.
So, creating a couple different versions of a title. And then, there's more advanced things that are out there with some of the plugins. One of the things that I've been really interested in, I know you're interested too, is predictive analytics. And I actually just met with Google today. They're in our office right now, and we were talking through some of the use cases for it and how it's becoming important in marketing. Tell me, from your perspective, what role are you seeing predictive analytics play in SEO and search engine marketing in general?
Yeah, I'm seeing that the tools are becoming a lot more available to the general population, and so I think back to my career even 10 years ago. Some of the bigger enterprises had data scientists on staff that were able to take predictive analytics with our SEM programs, look at keywords. Back then, Google was giving us the keyword information in SEO, but certainly in SEM. getting that information and really playing it out to the point of being able to predict how well these channels could perform for our companies. So I think even 10 years ago, like the bigger companies were already ahead of this game. Nowadays, the data tools are more readily available to us. Google, even inside of the Google Ads platform, they do a great job with predictive analytics. A lot of what's running back there is on AI. And so I think the tools are getting better. I have more trust in just letting Google auto optimize. They have auto optimization settings. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, probably would say no. I don't trust Google for that. More and more, we're leaning in and finding that their predictive and their AI tools are much better.
Excellent. And I find on the media side in particular, it's a really big thing with forecasting and in general. One of the things we've worked really hard on here for a long time, we try to bring certainty to digital marketing, and I think Google is one of the best partners at that. And they do a very good job of being able to predict seasonal trends, and it's great that
Mhm.
you're diving into that. Another question I had for you is recently Google came out and they downgraded how to and FAQ visibility in rich results. And to me, that was really, really interesting. What do you think that means for SEO professionals, and why would they do that? Any thoughts around that topic?
Yeah, from what I know, it's more to give some of these more of the authoritative sites that space to just say, hey, we trust some of these bigger sites with those answers. For me, I have a bunch of let's just say results that haven't changed at all. But that being said, for me, it really doesn't change my approach. And so I know visibility is going to be impacted or may be impacted. But if you think a how to is good for your site visitor, kind of back to what we talked about earlier in this call with the translations, if it's good for your visitor, you should do it anyway. If you think FAQs are good for your visitors, do them anyway. And we'll see what that impact is at the Google level. Personally, I don't know. I know they downgraded it, and certainly we're probably going to see less visibility of the standpoint of if this is the right thing to do for your visitor, just do it.
It seems like a lot of your SEO philosophy and a lot of what you teach at UC San Diego is focusing on quality content. Talk to us a little
Correct.
bit about maybe your philosophy around quality content, some things you look for in quality content. You alluded to earlier that some of these sites should have gotten more visibility because they are credible websites, and so who needs the FAQ? Push it to the website. What goes into quality content in your mind?
Before this helpful content update of last year, I had been espousing this forever, and it really is. I think the crux of being a good search engine optimizer or SEM expert. It's really diving into the keyword and what does that keyword really mean? What are people looking for when they're searching that keyword? And so if we go from that standpoint, and you'll know I take, or you probably are getting it. I have a customer first or customer centric approach, and so the more we can dive into what that keyword means, what somebody is looking to expect when they're searching for that word, that's the basic or the basis for starting to deliver quality content. Then what you and I just talked about, it's got to be unique, got to hit the point. We no longer have to be the authority on everything. We don't have to write the book on something. Doesn't need to be 10,000 words long. We can rank really well for 300 words. It's really about being concise, being on topic, and being helpful.
When you're creating a piece of content, how do you kind of go about outlining what's going to be in that piece of content, and what you want to put in it? Do you have any type of process or anything that you teach your students?
Yeah, I mean, there's some tools now, right, and that will lay out just a format. But outside of that, like so, I teach the organic way to do this. It's there's an introductory paragraph which is answer that question right off the bat. You definitely need some meat behind that, and typically end with some type of call to action. I do stay away from branded content as much as possible, especially with when we're trying to be helpful, we want to talk less about ourselves and really try to be helpful. But to your point, as far as is there a process for delivering or writing good content? I think to me the answer is no. That each piece each piece of content can kind of stand on its own. The more you try to create a single template, the more robotic I believe your content is going to be. And think about a keyword like budget, budget calculator. So you can write a infographic, you can create a tool like a budget calculator tool, you can create an article around this topic, and so there's a number of ways to go about it. So I definitely would not teach necessarily that you have to follow a certain process for writing content.
One of the things that you've had a lot of experience in over your career is doing enterprise SEO. And I find that enterprise SEO is much different than working with a local business, working with a service based business. You could argue that a big media company could be enterprise SEO. So in some cases, that could be enterprise SEO, but not a smaller media company. The bigger the site gets, I feel like there's a much different approach to how you do SEO. How do you think about enterprise SEO? How do you approach it? What don't most people know about it? Talk us through that a little bit.
Sure, and we'll start from the premise, and I have found this out myself, maybe the hard way, but a lot of the enterprises are still very, very slow to adopt SEO. When we think about how do we approach it, I'm really coming at this from an educational standpoint. So education, education, education. My other job as a instructor at UCSD really helps. It's banging the drums slowly, but it's banging the drum loudly, and so that's first and foremost. You have to get buy-in in these big organizations. So that's first. Usually, when they're hiring for SEO, they kind of know they have a need, so that's helpful. But just because you're in that role, you really have to carry the torch for all SEOs everywhere. If you get results, right? So getting results is really the number one thing. Once you establish yourself as that expert, you're getting results. People will take you seriously. They'll listen to you, and then they'll start trusting you with everything that you need to do to move things forward. And so that's it. I think it's the true sign of when you've made it an enterprise is when people are talking about SEO in a meeting and you're not even there. So people are advocating for your program, and that's happened a lot. But it doesn't happen overnight. You have to be patient, persistent, and so to me, that's really the key. And of course, you have to get results.
I was talking to the head of enterprise SEO at a really, really big company the other day, and I was excited to be on the line with them just because it was such a big company. And so I made a joke and I just said something like, I'm just like honored you're here, and I mean, just kind of keeping it light and things like that. And I'm like, what's it like to be head of SEO here? And he said to me, he said, John, all I've been doing is just saying SEO is important for 10 years, and he's like, that's my job, saying SEO is important. It was just like kind of one of those funny exchanges. But like you said, I've done quite a bit, and not as much now in my current role. I'm not hands on anymore. But one of the bigger issues that I always had, and that I know is something, is just kind of getting work pushed through. Sometimes these
Yep.
sites are so
Yep.
big. There's so many stakeholders. It's such an important business. I mean, what were some of your keys to success, and are now, to actually mobilizing the organization to push something through? How do you approach that?
Yeah, it is fighting for your place right in the sprint often, and it's if you're getting pushed back, it's being vocal about why and what's at risk if you don't get if you don't get what you need done during that sprint, and so that is definitely part of it, and again, it's I'll go back to the educational piece. I've stood up in front of 150 or so marketers uh, internationally. I've talked in front of organizations as large as 10,000 people or more. To be the sole SEO in this entire organization is it's an honor, but it's also you have to really carry the torch. But it's how do you get your initiatives through? It really is showing them the impact of what you're trying to get to, and so any delay in that can affect your company's results. And so if you approach it from that standpoint, you usually can get what you want.
I think that's really well said. I actually think all good enterprise SEOs need to be pretty business minded to be able to put together kind of a framework for how the success is going to happen as a result of the initiative that they're pushing out there, rather, kind of a business case, if you will. We are in 2023. We're going into 2024. SEO still remains important. More people are using Google every single day. We had Chat GPT and Google Bard come out and people jumped on it, but they're still using search engines. Search engine optimization continues to be incredibly resilient, and people are using these things for different things. What's your biggest focus for search engine marketing, and even if you like digital marketing, kind of going into next year? What are some of the things that are top of mind for you, some of the things you're coaching people to do in those fields?
We talked about site redesign, and I like what you said about you think about redesign every 2 years. We have to get faster, and so as you start to think about the technology of web, right? We have headless CMSs. We have content being separated now from our code base. So all of that is in service to again being faster. Why do we want to be faster? Not just for Google. That's a good outcome of doing it, but it's again better for our site visitors. And so I think as we start to think about digital and web and SEO, we really have to get faster. Other things, sounds really rudimentary. A/B testing. I'm using a great, enterprise tool that I love. I could not live without it anymore. To have tests in market, to get real data, right, and to help us make decisions. So personalization is another thing that all of us are treating every website visitor just about the same. Very few of us are engaging in personalization, even though the technology now exists to help personalize experiences. And when I say nobody, I mean smaller percentages of people are personalizing web experiences. But to me, that's always been the promise of the web. You and I have been in this game for a long time. What really got me excited about jumping into this career was we are different people at night than we are in the daytime. We're different on the weekends than we are on the weekdays. But why do we treat our visitors the same when they come to our sites? So in a perfect future world, right, we have content changing out at night and on weekends, and that's a future state I think we should all strive to get to. Finally, GA4 came out for better or for worse, and so it's new for all of us, and I think as we head into 2024, need to really master it. But this will be, I think, the make or break for a lot of us in search engine marketing or digital marketing. We really got to step up and understand this new platform.
Ron, thank you so much for being on today. Where can people find out more about you? Can they take your UCSD class? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I have a fall class coming up at UCSD Extension. So it's a content marketing class. There's still space and certainly can enroll in our fall class, 9 weeks. I can be found in social media. It's San Diego Marketing Guy, but spelled weirdly because I thought it was cool back in the day. SDMKTGGUY. You can find me on Twitter or any of the other sites.
Awesome. Ron, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on today. We'll see you soon.
John, thank you very much.